Morning Coffee by Xnav. The Smart Marketer Talk.
Okay, here's something to think about. What if I told you that maybe the most powerful marketing technique out there today, the really subtle, effective stuff, it wasn't cooked up on Madison Avenue.
Right, not at all.
That the secret to getting you, the consumer, to buy something
Right.
without ever feeling like you were actually sold anything came straight out of the CIA's playbook.
It sounds kind of wild, but that's secret. It's called elicitation. And that's what this deep dive is really all about. We're going to chart this pretty dramatic shift.
A shift away from the old aggressive sales tactic.
Exactly. Towards what some people are calling conversation engineering. It's quite a change.
So our mission today is pretty clear. We're going to unpack how this high-stakes communication strategy, originally for spies getting secrets, right?
That's the origin.
How that's now used in business to pull out what you called emotional truth. We want you to learn how these top brands build conversations so carefully,
So meticulously.
yeah, that buying their product feels like it was completely your idea, your choice, freely made.
And understanding this psychological pivot is, well, it's crucial now. The main thing for you listening is twofold, really. First, just start recognizing this invisible influence happening all around you.
Seeing the matrix, basically.
Kind of. And second, learn how you might use that same power of influence, but ethically. Shifting your own interactions, maybe from just transactional to genuinely connecting with people.
Okay, let's get into it. We have to start with the basics, the definition. When we talk about elicitation in that original intelligence world, what's it fundamentally trying to do?
Right. So at its core, elicitation is a structured communication technique. Highly refined, actually. It was developed specifically to extract vital information from people,
But without them knowing.
without them ever realizing they're being interrogated, or sometimes even realizing they're being asked anything significant at all. It's really about guiding the conversation's flow without appearing to be in control.
That sounds tricky. A paradox, almost. Because most people think intelligence gathering, they picture, direct questions, maybe pressure tactics.
Sure, the Hollywood version.
Yeah. So if the elicitor never asks a direct question, how on earth do they get someone to spill sensitive info?
The secret is all about the environment. It's not the question itself. The elicitor focuses on creating this psychological space.
Okay.
A space where the target feels validated, feels understood, and fundamentally just feels safe enough to share.
Yeah.
The aim is to maneuver the conversation so smoothly that the other person feels almost compelled to volunteer information. They end up believing they brought up the topic, they offered the data freely.
The genius of it, and maybe the slightly scary part, is just how stealthy it is. It's totally invisible if done well.
Exactly, and that central principle holds true whether it's espionage or marketing.
Yeah.
It's this. The most effective technique leaves the source believing they revealed nothing, when in fact, they revealed everything.
Wow.
Yeah. When you feel like you're the one driving the conversation, you just naturally drop your guard. Completely.
Okay, that leads us right into where this gets really interesting for, everyday life and business. The marketing adaptation. So spies use elicitation for secrets. How do marketers flip that for selling stuff?
Well, they follow a very similar path, building rapport, building trust. But the goal shifts. Instead of classified intel, marketers are trying to extract that emotional truth we mentioned.
Emotional truth. Explain that a bit more.
It means really getting at the core values of the consumer, understanding their deep-seated fears, maybe, or figuring out the ideal version of themselves they aspire to be.
Ah, okay.
It's about finding that internal conflict, that gap, that maybe only a product or service can help resolve.
That sounds incredibly personal, almost invasive.
It can be, which is why the approach has shifted so much. Brands have largely moved away from just listing features. Think about Nike. That's the classic example, right?
Right. You almost never see them talking about, the rubber composition in the sole.
Exactly. They pour millions into ads, but not about the tensile strength of the laces or the foam's rebound quality.
No, they're selling stories. Stories of struggle, perseverance, and then finally, triumph.
Precisely. They link their brand not to a piece of gear, but to a deeply felt human experience, an aspiration. They're selling an identity.
The identity of an athlete who overcomes obstacles? Or just someone committed to being their best?
Yeah, and the product itself, it just becomes the proof point, the symbol of that belief system you're buying into.
So just like the spy avoids direct demands, Nike never actually says, buy this shoe, it's technically better. They just show you someone achieving greatness wearing the shoe.
And you, the consumer, you watch that story, and your brain just kind of closes the loop internally. You think, if I want to be like that, achieve that, I need to be part of that identity. And the product becomes the entry ticket. It works because fundamentally people hate being told what to do.
Oh, absolutely.
But they love making their own decisions, especially decisions they feel smart about.
So the tactic isn't really control, not in the old-fashioned sense. It's more like guiding the narrative, but letting the consumer feel like they wrote the ending themselves.
That's why the source material really hits this point. Influence isn't about control. It's about creating the conditions where people influence themselves. You set the stage.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly to the absolute bedrock of this whole system, trust. In the spy world, trust is literally life and death, which led to some incredibly sophisticated techniques, like the Scharf technique.
Ah, yes, the Scharf technique, developed by Hans Scharf, a German interrogator in World War II, actually. It's considered a masterclass in building rapport.
Okay.
And it lays out 4 key principles for creating that safety, that connection.
Yeah.
And interestingly, you can see these mirrored almost perfectly in successful modern branding.
So what are those 4 principles? Let's break them down.
Okay, first, be friendly and personable. Seems obvious, but it's crucial. Build a human connection.
Simple enough.
Second, and this one's often the toughest, especially for sales folks, never press for information. Avoid that high-pressure pitch. Don't seem like you're demanding anything.
Wait, hold on. That seems totally counterintuitive, right? Sales teams are usually incentivized to close, to press. Isn't there a risk that if you never press, you just seem weak or you miss the sale?
That's the common fear, absolutely. But the goal in elicitation isn't necessarily the immediate transaction. It's about the long-term relationship or extracting that deeper information or commitment.
Okay.
If you press too hard too soon, defenses go straight up. Bang. But by backing off slightly, you signal safety. And it's that feeling of safety that often unlocks the commitment later on. It builds trust.
Got it. Makes sense. What are the other 2 principles?
Third, create the illusion that you already know everything, or at least know a lot. You don't ask basic questions, you imply you're already informed. This kind of lowers the burden on the other person.
Ah, so they feel more like they're just filling in gaps for you, not revealing everything from scratch.
Exactly. And fourth, use confirmation tactics.
Yeah.
Show you're actively listening. Confirm their reality. Validate their feelings, their pain points, maybe even their worldview. Show you get them.
And when you map this onto branding, you see the brands that do this well, they don't just hit you with facts and figures. They speak this language of like certainty and belonging.
Totally. Think about early Apple again. Think different. That wasn't about processing power.
No.
It was a subtle confirmation. It was like they were saying, we see you. We know you're different. You're creative, maybe a bit of a rebel. And hey, if you are, you belong with us.
They invite you into this identity that they seem to already understand about you.
Right. It's an invitation, not a hard sell.
And once you, the consumer, feel that alignment, that feeling of this brand sees me, well, loyalty goes way up, doesn't it? Buying isn't just a transaction then. It feels like joining something, belonging.
That's the holy grail for brands. When a brand mirrors who you want to be, you'll defend that brand like you're defending yourself.
Yeah.
It taps into that core insight. People don't buy products, they buy mirrors of themselves.
Okay, now let's talk about the main delivery system for all this influence, storytelling. Every great brand, it seems, is a great storyteller. How exactly does story work as an elicitation engine?
Well, storytelling is kind of the ultimate elicitation tool because it offers this smooth, frictionless path straight to our emotions. When we get lost in a good story, our brain actually, temporarily, bypasses the logical critical parts. The analytical defenses go down.
And what happens instead? What takes over?
Our brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone.
Ah, right.
So we stop analyzing data points and we just start feeling connected to the characters, to their journey. The story doesn't persuade you with logic. It bonds you through shared emotion.
And that emotional connection makes it stick in your memory way better too, right?
Unbelievably better. The research on this is just wow. People remember details told through a story something like 22 times more effectively than just hearing facts or data points listed out.
22 times, that's huge.
It's massive. Think about it. A brand doesn't sell running shoes by listing the materials. It sells them by showing that really human, relatable struggle of an athlete. Someone who fails and fails again before finally succeeding.
That connects directly to something called narrative transportation theory, doesn't it? When you hear that story, the struggle, the triumph, you don't just watch it passively.
No, you're transported into it. You're not just an observer anymore. Psychologically, you become a participant. You feel the effort, the commitment, almost like it's your own experience. And when the brand is part of that narrative solution, you're already deeply invested in choosing it. It feels natural.
So the brand isn't forcing a choice on you. They're inviting you into a story, letting you pick the role you're already feeling connected to. That really captures that invisible influence idea. The best stories don't persuade, they transport.
Exactly. They lay all the emotional groundwork. The purchase just becomes the logical next step in this personal journey you're already on.
All right, let's zoom in a bit now. From these big principles, trust, and narrative, down to the micro level. The specific psychological triggers marketers use every day. Many seem inspired by these elicitation tactics.
Yeah, we can definitely break down some core triggers, maybe 5 key ones that, when used ethically, really guide consumers toward taking action. First up is scarcity and FOMO.
Fear of missing out? That taps into something really primal, doesn't it? We hate losing things more than we enjoy gaining them.
That's the one, loss aversion.
Yeah.
And it's not just sale ends tonight anymore. Think about limited edition drops in online games, for example. Exclusive cosmetics that are only available for a short window.
Right.
They're not really selling digital pixels there, they're weaponizing FOMO. You feel you have to act now or you'll be permanently excluded from that cool in-group. It creates urgency.
Okay, trigger number 2, social proof. Our tribal nature kicking in.
Exactly. When we're uncertain about something, we look around to see what everyone else is doing. It's why online reviews are so powerful. A 4.8 star rating just feels safer than a 4.2. It's also why big brands spend fortunes on influencer endorsements. It's not just about getting eyeballs. It's a signal. Look, people you already trust and admire have validated this choice for you. It takes a risk off your shoulders.
Okay, third trigger, the halo effect. This one feels a bit more subtle, often related to design.
Yeah, the halo effect basically says that our first impression massively shapes all our later assumptions. So if a brand has a beautiful, slick website or an amazing unboxing experience,
Right, that first touch point.
then you, the consumer, tend to just assume the product quality is great, the customer service will be top-notch, everything else is probably high quality too, even if you haven't actually experienced those things yet.
So investing in the look and feel, the website, the packaging, the ads, it's actually an investment in perceived product quality down the line.
Yeah, it creates this kind of protective halo. It can shield the brand from minor bumps later, at least for a while. Okay, fourth trigger, identity validation. This is like the deeper version of the Nike example.
This feels like the one that builds real, lasting loyalty, reflecting who the customer wants to believe they are.
It really is. Good brands don't just sell an identity. They use specific language to validate beliefs the customer already holds about themselves. Think about a sustainable clothing brand.
Okay.
They're not just selling organic cotton. They're selling the identity of being a responsible person, someone who cares about the future. Buying the shirt becomes an act that validates the customer's own positive self-image.
It reinforces their value.
Exactly. And finally, the fifth trigger, maybe the purest elicitation tactic here, curiosity gaps.
Yeah.
This is straight out of the original intelligence handbook. The idea is to use like half statements or incomplete thoughts, a headline that deliberately holds back the key bit of info.
You won't believe what happened next.
That classic clickbait, yeah. Or a story that ends right on a cliffhanger. It compels the target, the reader, the viewer, to lean in and fill in the blank themselves.
It creates an itch they just have to scratch.
Right. It pulls you into the conversation, makes you engage, but without any obvious pressure. So all these triggers, used skillfully and ethically, tap into these really deep-seated psychological drivers. And that's why that quote rings so true. The best persuasion doesn't feel like persuasion. It feels like understanding.
Which brings us inevitably to the really critical final piece, the ethical line. Because knowing this stuff, it's incredibly powerful. When does this skillful, invisible influence tip over into just cynical manipulation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
And the answer really comes down to two things, intent and transparency. Remember, elicitation in its original spy context, often about extraction without the target's full informed consent.
Right.
Ethical marketing, though, must be about service, about reciprocity. It has to be a fair exchange.
So basically, if your product or service genuinely helps the customer meet their needs or helps them become that person they want to be, then you're influencing ethically.
I think that's a fair way to put it. The moment your intent shifts purely to exploiting a psychological quirk for your own gain without providing real value, you've crossed that line. And transparency is key here.
People value honesty.
Hugely. There's data showing something like 94% of consumers rate transparency as highly important. So if you use scarcity, the deadline has to be real. The stock shortage needs to be genuine. If you build trust through telling a story, your product or service better live up to that story. You have to honor the narrative you created.
We probably need a simple way to check ourselves on this. Is there like an ethical checklist, something marketers or anyone communicating should run their ideas through?
Yeah, we can boil it down to maybe 3 simple human questions. 1, could you comfortably defend these tactics publicly? Like explain them without feeling ashamed or needing to hide something?
Okay, public defense.
2, would you feel okay using these exact same methods on someone you really care about? Your kid, your parent, a close friend.
The loved one test.
Yeah. And 3, does your product, your service, your message, does it truly, demonstrably contribute positively to the customer's well-being in the long run? Does it actually serve them?
And if the answer isn't a clear yes to all 3, then you're probably not leading, you're manipulating.
That's the critical distinction right there.
Yeah.
Influence without integrity is manipulation. Influence with integrity is leadership.
Okay, so let's wrap this up by giving people a practical blueprint. How can we take these powerful CIA-inspired techniques and actually apply them ethically in business, in communication, maybe even just in daily interactions? What's the step-by-step?
I think it really starts with a fundamental shift in focus. Move away from trying to convince people towards understanding them, really understanding
So
them.
listening becomes the ultimate elicitation tool in a way.
Absolutely. So step 1, build genuine rapport. Be human, be authentic, be consistent in how you show up.
Okay, rapport first.
Step 2, listen way more than you talk. Focus on understanding those underlying values, fears, dreams we talked about. That emotional truth, what really matters to them.
Got it. Listen deep.
Step 3, tell stories. But stories where the customer is the hero, not your brand. Your brand is just the helpful guide, maybe the tool they use on their journey.
Make them the hero.
Okay.
And what about using those triggers we discussed?
That's step 4. Use psychological triggers, but ethically. Scarcity, social proof, curiosity, they must always, always be grounded in truth. Respect the customer. Never ever fake urgency or social proof.
Truthful triggers. And the last step.
Step 5, never press, always invite. Create environments, whether it's a website, a conversation, an ad where people want to engage, where they want to buy, want to belong. Don't make them feel obligated or pressured.
It's an invitation, not a demand.
Exactly.
You know, when you lay it out like that, when it's done right, people don't feel sold to at all. They feel seen, validated, understood. And that connection, that's probably the highest form of influence there is.
It truly is. The goal is to get beyond just the transaction, build something lasting.
This whole conversation has definitely got me thinking about how I approach things, professionally and personally. So here's the final thought we want to leave you, the listener, with today. If the big takeaway from elicitation is that learning to ask the right questions, or maybe create the right environment, lets people essentially sell themselves, then what are the 3 most important non-pressuring questions you need to ask this week? Ask your audience, your customer, maybe even a colleague. Questions to truly understand their identity, their needs, their world.
Yeah. Stop focusing so hard on selling and maybe start focusing more on just connecting. Because really, when you strip everything else away, the best brands, the most effective communicators, they just understand people better. And that understanding, that's the ultimate form of persuasion.